Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here with more Generation 10 Pokemon leaks because that's the Teraleak. We have the entire concept of the game, which actually spans like multiple trailers worth of details if you think about it. So, Pokemon Wind, Pokemon Wave, let's catch up. If you want full details, check out my previous video. Check out my leaks playlist. Just run through it. This is crazy stuff to talk about. Implications for the future of Pokemon, where Game Freak is at. But what's happening with Gen 10? Releases 2026. Set in Southeast Asia. Island exploring with underwater exploring. It's also open world. The crazy thing about it, procedural generation for islands because the theme is infinity and survival. So you just procedurally generate islands to explore and catch Pokemon in. You can also just head off the island for a bit and then swim around. The dive mechanic underwater, explore caves, find cool Pokemon and stuff. Then it has survival elements like move on and then progress through the procedural generation. Sounds incredible. Brand new graphics engine, Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. So Game Freak, they're not held back by the Nintendo Switch. And it seems like they're cooking up some crazy stuff. So we're going to get more into those details. Speaking of not being held back by the Nintendo Switch 1, because for being real, that's like 2014 hardware. It released underpowered, and Game Freak had to make games for it in 2025, 2024 with Pokemon Legends ZA. So we even have like tests for the water. I think people are getting like over hype or over caring about this because like it's not 2000. It's not the 2000s anymore. We don't need to be impressed by water graphics. For the most part, they go largely unnoticed. But it's like, yeah, they have a water test. There's just, you now have waves and vibrancy and a flowing world to fit the theme on the Nintendo Switch. So cool. Hopefully it doesn't drag too much of the performance down. Seems a little unnecessary, but these are the tests that they're making. We also have, actually, but then you see it. And I guess, because like, oh, dang. That's pretty good. Well done, Game Freak. And this is like the underwater world that you get to explore. So you dive on down, and there's just Pokemon chilling, and it's all to scale, and all that stuff is happening on your island. Yeah, the series will no longer be held back by the capabilities of the Nintendo Switch 1. And then that's just like the graphic engine for exploring underwater. More details, all these extra features. Gym Adventure. That sounds cool, but it's also not directly gym related, and we get to cover those details. See, that's why it had to be 2 videos. To really consolidate everything and find all of this crazy stuff. So, where are we at? Gym Adventure. Weather Move Acquisition Quest. So there's like a weather move gimmick. We don't know anything about that. Just one of the details. Ride license quest. So you actually do quests to unlock Poké-Ride features, and then you get better exploration through it. We're going to be covering that later as well. So we're just the full details, guys. It's crazy. MMO raid battle. So I think Centro's weird. Actually, no. Pokemon has actually classified it as MMO. But it's not like massive multiplayer online. It's just multiplayer raids like we have for Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. Wouldn't consider that an MMO, but there's still raid battles in this because that's just a very successful thing on the Nintendo Switch with console Pokemon. Pokemon Rescue. I'm thinking about it from like a mystery dungeon perspective, which actually makes a lot of sense if they're going for survival elements in the game or procedural generation. That if like you get stuck on a difficult island or something, you can maybe just like call friends to join in and help you, or also connect online and then have randoms come in and explore your island with you, but also can like help you out with whatever problem or progression you're facing, which is a good thing. Like that's an optional difficulty mod, which means they make the base game a lot more intense. That's just good for, you know, very invested Pokemon fans and older Pokemon fans. But if it becomes too hard for the kids or casual players because of that, you give them an out. Awesome. Boss Pokemon, new version of Totem and Titan Pokemon, Pokemon Survival, and then Diving. New graphics engine, Pokemon Engine X. So like, all of this sounds really cool, and I'm just thinking, It reminds me of when Pokemon Sun and Moon news was happening, and it was just new feature after new feature after new feature after new feature, and it was all really cool stuff. Like Pokemon Sun and Moon Generation 7, really awesome games, a lot of stuff to do. Problem is everyone just hacked it, so there was actually nothing to do, and then they complained that the game didn't have any content when 90% of the game was all the post-game content, like farming up your Isle, the Isle of Beans thing. Pokepelago, that's it, because I was like, oh, there's Isle of Plenty, there's Isle of Beans, there's all these other things. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to farm up your Pokepelago. You're actually supposed to spend dozens of hours in the Festival Plaza engaging with other people, and I think the balance of the Festival Plaza was bad. Like, you didn't get enough festival coins, and you didn't get enough reward for it. Like, the EV training and the leveling system inside of it was pretty terrible. Really, the only thing it was good for was Poke Lotto exploiting by putting down the fortune things and then always getting a bottle cap that way. And then getting level 100 for the hyper training was also, like, not quality of life enough. But if not everyone was hacking the game, then, like, yeah, you invest into Pokemon, you play competitive, there's actually an incredible amount of features, optimizing SOS battles, figuring out how to do, like, Felicity SOS for the training and stuff, running back the challenges, and then going into the battle tree. There was actually a lot. Like, Pokemon Sun and Moon was awesome, so it's like seeing all these features, and also the island setting just works surprisingly well for Pokemon. Like, you wouldn't think that, because you start off in, like, cities and towns and the Kanto region and all these other regions and stuff. Like, actually, just go out into the wild and enjoy Pokemon, and it kind of bangs. Next up, we just got, like, more things. So we start off in Tourist City. That's actually, like, a big point, instead of, like, starting off in a small town or by your house or something. Like, no, you start off with the Tourist Bureau, and they're like, hey, here's how Pokemon works. Go explore islands. Yes, please, just take the leash off and let us have fun. And then here's an example of how it just makes these little pocket islands. Like, you procedurally generate your own little Pokemon space to survive in, and that's the game. Why is it coming out? Like, why is it 2026? According to all the leaks, should have been 2025. We could have had this for 2020 anything. Like, we could have gotten this set of Scarlet and Violet, because this looks like a much easier thing to render, even on the Switch 1, than the entire open world region of Paldea. Maybe I'm just crazy. I know I'm not. Pokemon Wind and Wave. So you get a seed Pokemon at the start of your adventure. You must raise it to a certain level to be able to enter the island for the main legendary. So that's what, like, that's also another cool thing about this roguelike setup, is that you progress how you want. You get your level up, you get your training, and then the end game unlocks. But you don't have any kind of, like, set path to get to it. So people hate open world. It's like, nah, you're just an uncreative weirdo that's like a fake gamer if you don't like open gameplay, and you just need to be on a, like, see, I think that's the thing. We're seeing a lot of discourse around Ghost of Yote. A lot of casuals and weirdos, they just, like, need an interactive story kind of game. And then when people get mad at that, like, oh, Pokemon Sun and Moon is too much on a rail. Ew, open world. What's going on? But yeah, like, we can see, like, this is actually what gaming is supposed to be. You can do your adventure however you want, and then it consolidates into the end game. Perfect. Just have that. Islands are procedurally generated based on how the trained seed Pokemon is, which is actually kind of cool. So, like, if you just hop to the next island and then hop to the next island, it doesn't matter, like, what you're doing with the rest of your team. They're not going to be able to overlevel, because you actually have to take care of your seed. You're supposed to nurture this. I imagine there's other incentives on the islands and other, like, side quests or, like, story progression things that incentivize that. So it's like, oh, your seed hits level 40, now you go to the level 40 tier island. Your seed hits level 50, now and does some kind of, like, side objective. Now you're able to progress to that, and then it finally evolves. Or actually, no, it doesn't evolve yet. Like, it just has to hit, and then it hits level 60, and now you can actually go and find out about, like, the Guardian Wave Old Man Deity Legendary. And according to Centra, they have their own story for the legendaries, but Centra said they're not going to leak that here. They're not going to spoil the fun of this. Weird as a leak source, but also with how cool those games come together, I'm okay with that. The evolution for the seed Pokemon will be procedurally generated. Unique patterns for flowers, fractals. Every player will have a different seed Pokemon evolution. So infinity to the max. Like, your journey and how you do everything about this will create a unique Pokemon through your adventure. That, and it also, like, represents and captures your adventure. And I don't even know how they're going to do that, but, like, why? Why did we get ZA? Like, everything about Legends makes me upset. Instead of Pokemon Legends Arceus, we could have had an open world Brilliant Diamond Shine Pearl remake. Instead of Pokemon Legends ZA, we could have had this. Also, where's Pokemon Let's Go Johto? Game Freak overcommitting to Legends has ruined the entire franchise, and that's going to be future videos. So like, comment, subscribe. Again, check out the playlist, because depending on when you're watching these videos, could also have a lot more of a deep dive about what is going on with these games. Let's keep on going. So the graphics engine, Wind and Wave, you'll be able to beat the game without finishing all the gems or catching the main legendary. Those will be optional, but you need to complete those for the true ending. Interesting. I wonder, that's like, there's actually just the Champion League, kind of like how in Paldea, like, yeah, there it is. There's the Elite Four. There's the Champion League right there. Just come back when you can pass the test. So, like, you go back to the main city, and it's like, yeah, sure. Go become champion, I guess. Like, you have all of your badges? Neat. So that's actually, like, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Is it going to be like, oh, yeah, this is actually a settled, non-procedural island? Does it all take place in, like, the main massive city? That's kind of like some cool things to think about. I think it's good either way. Actually, no, you don't even need to finish all the gems. I don't even know what the win condition is then. But yeah, then you can beat the gems, catch the main legendary, get the true ending, and it's all cool. And then here's where I'm just like, no. Why? Pokemon Wind and Waves, Titan Lord Pokemon are mixed together. 18 challenges, one for each type. They will be inspired by sustainable development goals. Clearing all 18 challenges allows you to challenge the champion. So it's not 8 gyms and then you feel bad because we haven't had a dark type gym leader, or we need to have X gym leader or something. Nope, it's a challenge based on every type. And then I don't know how that goes, where it's just like, oh, the rock one is explore 5 mountain islands, and then you do that. But then the grass one is going to be like a completely different set of goals. So targeting that, naturally doing it, so maybe you can like set it up to be like, oh, I'm aiming for the flying goals, so you can do some here. So like, yeah, there's actually, even though we have this huge leak, it opens up a lot, and it just kind of shows like the depth of this game. Surprisingly good. I'm just upset so late, and then Game Freak has already completely ruined themselves to get to this point. And also this is just like kind of stupid, where it's not the late 90s anymore. We're not in the global warming crisis, which actually showed to be just completely fraudulent. Florida isn't underwater anymore, and apparently the Earth hasn't cooked itself into complete famine and starvation. Actually, the opposite happens, that if we have more CO2, that breeds more life, and then that's going to create larger patches of forest and greenery, which then creates its own like self-fulfilling thing where more water in the atmosphere, more filled up aquifers and stuff. Plant mass in the earth is literally growing, and then the Sahara is greening and stuff, and that just creates more arable land. So it's like, yeah, we don't need to go back through all this 90s propaganda again. And then we can also see like the Pokemon Company International just going complete DEI globalist garbage, and that's like, oh boy, I want to play Pokemon games to escape from reality, not have reality forced into me. Because like, okay, cool, yeah, you can care about these things, but that's why people don't want politics infecting their games. Like, yeah, I can recycle outside of Pokemon. Don't make me go into Pokemon, then try to teach me and be like, and then you do this to save your world. Because that was a thing that I covered in my last video, where I think I just stuck on that for like a little too long and got rambly with it, but it kind of shows like this is why. That's like, oh, the world is now dying and in chaos, and that's kind of like the subplot of this game. So we have all these incredible mechanics, we have all these things, and then it's polluted by this nonsense. And then whenever I bring up DEI, people like mock it, but here's the thing, this is what the vast majority of people believe. Trump won, and now we got like a female Shinzo Abe as the Japanese prime minister, and a lot of other cultural turnings. We were just putting up with your communist bullshit, and we were also kind of forced into it, because all of these goals are just authoritarian crap, because it doesn't work, and then you can't get a normal, rational person to fall into all this BS. So you have to strong arm it, and then you have to censor everything, and then like, oh, it turns out you guys are the fascists all along, and now that's in my Pokemon games. That's why I'm upset. I'm allowed to be upset about that stuff, instead of me just like like, I can't have an organic experience. That whenever you see these things get seeded into a Pokemon game, going back to those concepts, which I guess I'll pull up, it's hard to call the modern world a good one. For fuck's sake, we have the best quality of life out of any time in humanity. These people don't understand how privileged they are to be able to complain things from their smartphone, which is created by slave labor, and they just kind of support that anyways. And then you kind of look at all these other things like, yeah, plastic straws getting banned in bags and stuff. This isn't going to change or affect anything, especially because we're not cracking down on China and India for their incredible amounts of pollution. So it's all just a farce. And then we learned that with the 90s not panning out, that none of those predictions about global warming and the environmental crisis have even materialized at all, unless we're talking about China dredging the oceans dry. We're doing nothing about them. Oh, Pokemon companies partnered with Tencent now. Why? Like, see, it's all fake, and no one wants to deal with that. And then just like, get this crap out of my Pokemon game. Especially because it doesn't even work with the Pokemon world to inject the modern problems or the problems you have with the real world into Pokemon. We've watched the progression. And I said this in the last video. So again, I read this and I just have to repeat myself for the sake of the video, where like we watched the technology boom with like these computers and they can transfer Pokemon data and this weird internet thing with Porygon, and like technology is wild like that. Who would have guessed? So now we've just kind of adopted smartphones and all these other futuristic technologies that are in real time becoming a part of the world. Oh, but even then, like, we have Pokemon, we have all these magical things, society is doing great, futurism is real in Pokemon. No, the modern world actually sucks, and we're killing it somehow. Even though every time, like, there's an issue, we have a 10-year-old step up and then take out the bad guys or the legendary Pokemon that's threatening the world. It's okay. So this is a anti-Pokemon. That's why I hate about Legends, Generation 5, all these stories that go against the spirit of Pokemon, that try to, like, shoehorn in some kind of BS to be profound or make some kind of points. Like, actually, no, you're just killing off the idea of what Pokemon is. Pokemon isn't for social or political or modern commentary. I just want to run out into the world and catch critters and make them battle and then be the best like no one ever was by beating up on other children. Let me have that. We got more graphical engine stuff where, like, wind, I guess you can do wind maps and have interesting dynamic stuff going on. Neat. The redesign I hate. Yeah, never mind. All those cool things I talked about the procedural generation and this game, Pokemon has gone woke and it is just dead. Why? Why are we redesigning Pikachu again? Because even though Fat Pikachu was perfection, this is a close second. Like, if you want a mascotable, just streamlined what Pokemon is, what Pikachu is, it doesn't matter. We've had this just because you come in with your new degree or you're trying to justify your fake job title to climb the ladder doesn't mean you have to come in and, like, change everything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, this has, like, the Pikachu logo kind of thing from, like, the YouTube channels and stuff, and I like that as a logo design, but not as this. Like, we don't need Neo future Pikachu design. Like, this is timeless, and it's okay to have something that is timeless, that just remains forever. I hate the Donkey Kong redesign, which is actually why I protest Bonanza personally, even though I can accept as a game, it's actually incredible. And what they have done, like with the systems and the dynamic rock breaking, they made a great game. Again, just don't mess with anything. That's just how things are. There was nothing wrong with the Cracker Barrel logo or the Cracker Barrel store itself. However, we gotta make a woman CEO because that's just the globalist DEI agenda. It's mandated, and that's just what everyone has to do. So we gotta change and break everything. And it's like, that is sad and uncanny. And it's actually really funny because, like, Teraleak says, like, oh, Game Freak changes everything. Just because it's in this doesn't mean they're going to go through with it. But here's the time they don't make that as some kind of stipulation. Like, Game Freak needs to kill this. Like, this needs to have been scrapped. Yeah, you can play around with these things, but you can't finalize them. However, as we've learned from just the atrocious, disgusting, unacceptable mega designs of Pokemon Legends EA, no, we're just it. Like, the spirit of Pokemon is dead, gone, and broken. And now they're coming for Pikachu. We also see more of these somewhere. Yep, that's Charizard. Which, again, like, I think now we're getting into over-design ruining the character, because even though it's kind of like looks closer to the anime, it didn't need to be that. And then even then, the overall portrayals of Charizard haven't been that rigid. So like we lose nostalgia, we lose the entire character in how hard this redesign has gone. Yeah, maybe in other representations it kind of has this, but like somewhere in between this is the correct way to go. And even then, we've like seen upgrades throughout the 3D era. It's like, yeah, like, nah, that's not Charizard. That is new anti-Pokemon, because that's all it is now. So live sync and hot reload. You know, we don't know how much they're remodeling all the Pokemon, which maybe could cause a delay, but at that point, why? Man, like, whatever's going on at Game Freak. Again, they kicked out Junichi Masuda. They gave him a couple million yen, not million yen, a couple $1 million in yen to build Poke Park, and then just kind of say like, hey, we're going to kill your beloved creation, but we'll give you this small little patch Kanto somewhere in Tokyo, and just don't bother us and we won't bother you, and then you get to live out your dreams, alright? It's actually sad. It's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Pokemon Wind and Wave proposal means they plan to have all big Pokemon rideable, smaller ones interactable in some way. You can also dress up your Pokemon. Cool! Sun and Moon Game Freak originally wanted to implement Pokemon dress up. Will they be able to do it? So once again, Central being like, oh, we don't know. Things get scrapped all the time, except for the Pikachu redesign. Before deciding Southeast Asia, Game Freak decided against Canada, Greece, Scandinavia, West Coast of North America. Bro, the West Coast would have been fire! I was talking earlier where it was like, wow, yeah, the South Asia island hopping sounds like the greatest thing, because island just works in Pokemon surprisingly well. But West Coast is hype. That's why I live out here. Yeah, and then like Greece, but people, and then like fake leaks where it's like, oh, its next game is in Greece. You can just say anything. My personal leak is Pacific Northwest. Oh, look at that. I was right. They just scrapped it, but my leak was real, guys. Canada, we need our beaver Pokemon. Scandinavia, it's a place. And then just the overall weirdness, where there was a gameplay screenshot of the underwater with Lumineon that I showed in like the first video. So that was just like a leak that happened, but it wasn't covered because of Pokemon Legends EA, because Central Leaks is weird. And then we have this, which looks legit. Following logos appeared on 4chan on October 4th, a few weeks ago. 2 games called Pokemon Wind and Pokemon Waves. So like even outside the Teraleak, what about just the leaks? That we had the Affleck leaks, we had the Sun and Moon leaks, we've had just the Rainbow Rocket leaks. Like legitimate leaks still exist at any point. And since we're like over a year behind with Game Freak development, they've been sitting on Pokemon Wind and Waves for years already. Game might even be done by now, who knows? And now, like, so we just have this. And it's like, yeah, there we go. Pokemon Wind and Pokemon Wave. Not Waves, but Wind Wave. Whatever. There it is. Logos. And then, petting mechanic. Because, again, every Pokemon's touchable and interactable. I mean, like, yeah, I guess you give it a certain pet hitbox. And then it still doesn't really work, I guess. But we do have a big focus on like interactivity and stuff, and then like dynamic models, so at least Game Freak's upgrading in that regard. And then the Poke Ride mechanic, because large Pokemon can be ridden. And I guess that it's also going to work with scaling, and it doesn't have to be like extra large Go-Go, but it also works with all other Pokemon and stuff. But I do kind of like that, but that just kind of shows the insane amount of work into this game, which I think these features, like, I think they should have made this game instead of Scarlet and Violet, and then have all of these features for, like, the first Nintendo Switch 2 game, and just, like, make it one of the, like, Scarlet and Violet should have actually been all of these things on the Nintendo Switch 2, so, like, the region actually functions, and then it's its own thing. But, like, these systems are interesting. Like, Game Freak's actually working on stuff, and there's no way this happens on Nintendo Switch. All these like dynamic things, especially with the amount of time it takes to make all of them. So now we can do that. It's kind of like a call of Pokemon Let's Go, because Pokemon Let's Go has a few rideable Pokemon, and then they have different interactions where it's like, oh yeah, Persian's just fast, and then other Pokemon fly really high. So like they've been working on this for so long. And then we got some of this coming through now. And now it's like finally being realized. But man, late. I don't know if it's too little too late, because it's a lot of stuff they're putting into it. But it's just late and annoying with how they have to like shoehorn some stuff in when the rest of it actually has like really cool inspiration and stuff. So there we go on that. Like I think that's it for Generation 10 coverage, but we're still going to be breaking down a lot more. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.